Hello chess friends and welcome to your Out of Chess channel and welcome back to the Computer Rapid Chess Championship Super Final between the two top engines Stockfish and Leela C0. So this tournament you can follow on chess.com. The link of this beautiful chess event is the first thing that you see in the description below. Please check it out. You can download many PGNs, have maybe a great preparation, particular openings and also in particular sidelines of openings. So the result is really clear. Stockfish is dominating again the field. The Stockfish is destroying Leela C0 in the Super Final, and I've sorted out now today again a beautiful new sharp tactical mortal gameplay by Stockfish with an outstanding but also thematic piece sacrifice in the middle game stage that opens the position, that spices up the game. In my opinion, really one of the best games so far in the Super Final for sure. So let's see now what happened. The fish with the white pieces opened with the move e4. The Leela's response was c5, the Sicilian, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5, the Rossolimo Nyezhmetdinov attack, trying to mess up the pawn structure by taking out the knight, creating a double pawn structure on the c file. So e6 is sort of a Taimanov way to play the sort of French Sicilian e6 with the preparation to play the move d5, but also to play maybe the move knight to e7. Now if white doesn't take out the knight, last chance for white, black will play knight to e7 and then probably a6, and then black should be pretty solid here. So that's why bishop to c6, we have b takes c6, b3 with the preparation to play the move bishop to b2, but also d4 is a solid way to proceed here for white. Queen to c7 by Leela, kingside castling, bishop to e7, rook to e1, preparing now even the move e5. If that happens, if we manage to push the pawn to e5, then we could have a great space advantage on the 5th rank. We would have really, I think, a solid game here from white's perspective. Knight to h6, d4, c takes d4, bishop to h6, giving up the other bishop now. A really amazing middle game now that we'll see, because after g takes h6 we have now two knights versus two bishops. But we have to say many structural weaknesses here in black's camp. Of course white will eventually take out the pawn on d4, but now look at this, many weaknesses here. g7, f6, weak pawn on h6, bishop is a little bit paralyzed by its own pawn structure, can maybe get back into the game through the square a6, but even if the bishop gets on a6, still it's not attacking anything. There's simply no pieces to attack further. Really tricky position. Now black has to be careful what to do, and in these types of structures I think it's also quite natural to stay with the king in the center for a while, because even if you castle queenside here, if you don't castle kingside castling of course is suicide because you have too many weaknesses, but even if you castle queenside, it's not a better story here. There are also plenty weaknesses, b6, b7, also the a6 square is weak. I think black will be challenged with an immediate flank attack here on the queenside, so in my opinion the king has to now stay a little bit longer here in the center for black. So rook to g8, we have knight to c3 development, bishop to b7, rook to d1, keeping everything really active here. Both rooks on good files, both knight on natural squares, queen centralized, the pawn is centralized. So far good strategic centralized play here by Stockfish 15. So h5, we have rook to queen to e3, rook to g6, h3, h4. Leela creates also space advantage now on the king side, king to h1, getting out of the g file mess, and now d6, keeping the pawn structure a little bit more flexible here, also not allowing many of this pawns to advance, and also keep here some kind of a defensive setup in the center of the board. So in the game queen to d4, we have rook to g8, b4 by Stockfish, we have queen to b6, which is a good choice I think here by Leela, forcing a trade of queens. But of course Stockfish is on the attacking side, and when you're on the attacking side you don't want to trade off the queens, you want to be more active, so that's why queen to d2, rook to d8. Leela competes now on the d file. We have a rook to b1. Of course here it was never really a threat to pick up the pawn on b4, because you get here rook to b1 and the bishop is hanging on b7, so that's why after queen to d2 first, rook to d8, and now rook to b1. We have bishop to a6 with the preparation to play the move c5, maybe also d5 comes to my mind. So slowly but surely Leela is preparing some kind of a central breakthrough, because there is the advantage of blacks, but it's still risky because the king is in the center. If something clears on the e file, then it can be in danger. So that's why maybe Leela is trying now to get the king on f8, where it's a little bit more secure. It's much harder for white to attack the king when it's maybe on f8. So in the game a4, we have a5, knight to a2, a takes b, knight takes b4. Again, Stockfish is not trading off here the queens. We have queen to a5, queen to h6, attacking now the pawn on h7. We have c5, finally Leela is breaking through with the bishop, and now queen to h7 here by Stockfish attacking first the rook, and after move king to f8, getting everything compact here, trying to connect the king with the rook. Now comes the stunner of the game. Now comes the immortal move here by the fish. Stockfish plays the brilliant knight to d5. Really wild stuff. Sacrificing now the knight in the center of the board, but just in order to open the e file. This is the way to go, because after e takes d5, and now comes the great follow-up. We don't want to play, of course, e takes d5, activating the light square bishop. Now Stockfish played the brilliant e5. These two moves combined, the knight to move on d5, and also here the pawn on e5 are causing now many tactical problems here in black's camp. So let's see now what are possible continuations. You could maybe break and enter here with the move d4. I've analyzed also this move at home. What would happen if d4 would be played by black? It seems like it's a logical idea, getting more attackers into the game, but actually this is the way to go. e6 is breaking through. You have to play something like rook to g7 after a couple of checks and queen to h5. Now we're threatening the checkmate on f7. You have to play again rook to g7, and now e takes f7. Maybe after bishop to f3 we can play now this one. Look at this. This is really a brutal position that black has to defend. After queen to h8, king to f7, we have now this stunning idea. Rook takes e7, king to e7. Now we pick up the rook on g7. You have to step back. We can now pick up here the bishop on f3, and look at this, too many weaknesses. The king is naked here in the center of the board. The queen and the rook are creating deadly threats. Maybe you can include this rook like this so far on the e file. It's not possible, but maybe later if the move gets back somehow into the game, then we have rook to e1. But I think this king will be destroyed for sure in the center of the board. So that's why after move e5 we have d takes e5, knight to e5, again the checkmate threat on f7, rook to g7, again we have the same motif, queen to h5, still there is a checkmate threat on f7, we have rook to g7, and now knight to g4. Huge activity here. The knight is active, the queen is coming on h8, and also the bishop on e7 is a little bit loose. So that's why bishop to g5, f4, great move here by Stockfish. If you play bishop to f4, then look at this, knight to f6 is winning the game immediately. After rook to g8 or something, we can first deliver a couple of checks. Look at this, you can just prolong the game, but you will eventually get destroyed here with the queen and knight activity here on the king side. So you cannot really defend his position after move f4. So that's why you have to play queen to d2 here by Leela c0, trying to trade off the queens, because after f takes g5, here we have queen to g5. And Leela hopes, of course, if the queens are off the board, this should be playable, because still I think this bishop is very dangerous. Now we have to play something like d4, and I think this position is something that black could survive, but only if the queens are off the board. So that's why Stockfish again is not trading off the queens. Plays now queen to h8, rook to g8, queen to h7. We have now the move c4, and now a rook to b5, attacking now also the backward pawn on d5, but also the queen is a little bit endangered on the 5th rank. Bishop to c6, rook to a5, bishop to b7. We have an attack against the bishop. Leela protects it, and now c3 controlling the square d4, not allowing this pawn to be advanced. So bishop to c8, we have a rook to a8, not allowing again the bishop to breathe here. We have a rook to d8, and now knight to e3. The knight gets more and more active into the game, but it's also protecting so far the weak g2 square. So rook to e8, attacking now the knight. This threat is of course rook takes e3. After something like rook takes e3, of course a checkmate on g2. So that's why first we have now the move a5, but now so far rook to e3 is not working, because look at this, we have first this idea, rook takes e8. You have to go now towards the e file. Rook takes e3 comes with a check. After queen to e3, now queen to h4 is the first move. You cannot even pick up the rook immediately, because you get perpetuals here with the queen. So first we play queen to h4, and after king to d7, now we pick up here the rook on g8, and there are simply no good checks. You can maybe play one, but after king to h2, no more good checks are possible, so this would be game over. So you see, after move a5, you don't have time so far to pick up the knight on e3. So that's why d4 by Leela. We have c takes d4, rook to g8, attacking again here. The queen dropped back on b1. We have rook to g8, and now Stockfish simply also pushed this dangerous pawn here in the center of the board. King to g7, first a check, f6, queen on f2. We have king to g6, a6. Stockfish pushed the pawn further, queen to g3, again king to g1. Now Stockfish is agreeing to trade off the queens because it's a different story. The king is not so in danger anymore. This pass pawn is dangerous. This pass pawn is dangerous. The knight is more centralized. The king will get closer to the center. The rook will be activated. So now it's of course not such a bad idea. Maybe to simplify the game by trading off the queen. So bishop to d7, rook to a7, rook to g7, knight to c2. We have rook to e1, knight to e1, queen to e5, knight to f3, attacking the queen. Queen picks up now the pawn on d5, but now the rook comes behind, and Stockfish is trying to make further progress with his dangerous pawn on the a file. Bishop to e6, knight to h4, king to h7. Again, trades of rooks, rook to g7, king to g7, and now the pawn is marching. King on f7 was Leela's next move, and now queen to b6, preparing queen to b8, and then maybe here another promotion on the a file. We have bishop to d7, queen to c7, here preparing of course also to block out the potential progress of blacks here on c3, but also controlling this diagonal, because after something like queen to d1 there is no other potential check here on d6 because the queen is controlling this diagonal. So this is a good defensive move here by Stockfish. We have c3, a8, the promotion. The queen is overloaded to the defense of the potential promotion, but also of the defense of the bishop here on d7. We have king to f8, and now knight to f5, and from this point on, of course, the game is over. We have here several checkmate threats on e7 and on g7. We have queen to a3 so far. Leela is controlling one of the squares, because after queen to g7, you cannot play this other check on e7. This would be a checkmate, but still Stockfish is having everything under control. The c3 pawn cannot be moved. Here, king to f8 was played, king to h2, securing the king, and now after move h4, Stockfish also pushed the pawn further. We have now the move c2. Stockfish makes further progress with the pawn. Queen to e1, we have another check. After knight to h6, we have king to e6, queen to e8 here, and after queen to e1, it was game over here for black. There's no promotion here on c1. The queen is off the board, and this is now of course completely winning here for Stockfish. So great game, great knight sacrifice in the center of the board. Then the follow-up with the move e5, locking the bishop, targeting the f7 square, creating dynamics with many pieces around the king. Great attacking ideas here by the fish. Again, one of the really beautiful games that have been played in chess history. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. Really interesting ideas of the Nyezhmetdinov-Rossolimo attack of the Sicilian defense. If you want to see more aggressive attacking beautiful brilliances like this, check out our commented chess games played by computers. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.